Have you ever been in that spot where you are just completely and totally overwhelmed, but the idea of asking for help feels almost physically impossible? It's a feeling that goes so much deeper than just being proud. Today, we're going to get into the psychology behind that heavy burden of extreme self-reliance. I mean, does this sound familiar? You're drowning, right? Drowning in work or maybe dealing with a personal crisis. And you know logically that just reaching out, just asking someone for a hand would make it all easier. But you just can't. The thought itself feels like hitting a brick wall. And we're not just talking about being a little hesitant here. It feels like a profound sense of failure. For some people, something as simple as texting a friend for a small favor feels like you're admitting defeat, like it's the ultimate proof that you just couldn't handle it on your own.
All right, so let's really unpack this internal battle, because it's so easy for people on the outside to just label this behavior as, being stubborn or having too much pride. But the reality, it is so much more complicated. It's rooted in this really deep emotional conflict.
And this is where the major disconnect is. On the outside, what do people see? They see someone who's stubborn, totally in control, maybe a little proud. But on the inside, what you're actually feeling is incredibly vulnerable, anxious, and yeah, that word again, defeated. So, and this is the most important thing to get, it's not a character flaw. It's really not about pride. What it is a shield. It's a learned behavior, a deeply conditioned response to stay away from the perceived danger of being vulnerable. Which leads to the big question, right? If this is some kind of conditioned response, where did it come from? When did we learn this? Well, to understand that, we usually have to rewind the tape, often all the way back to childhood. A lot of the time, the roots of this intense self-reliance start with what we could call the self-reliant child. And the tricky part is, what begins as a totally necessary survival skill when you're young can end up casting a really long shadow into your adult life. In psychology, there's a term for this, the parentified child. This is a kid who, for one reason or another, had to step up and take on adult-level responsibilities way too early. They learned a huge lesson, and they learned it young. If you want something done right, or done at all, you gotta do it yourself. Think about the latchkey kids of Gen X, that whole figure-it-out-yourself culture. That's a perfect example of this kind of conditioning. So how does this actually get wired into someone? Well, it kind of happens in stages. First, the lesson. You learn you can't really count on other people for consistent help. So what do? You adapt. You become extremely capable just to get by. Over time, that adaptation hardens into a core belief. Asking for help is risky. And the final results? As an adult, just the thought of asking for help can trigger a genuine, physical, deep-seated anxiety response. And this brings us right to the heart of the paradox. The very strength, the very skill that helped you survive your past can become this heavy burden in your present. That skill starts to feel more like a daily struggle. It leads to this thing that's been described as a capability that borders on anxiety. What that means is your talent for just getting things done is so sharp, so effective, because it's constantly being fueled by this low-grade or sometimes high-grade hum of anxiety. The need to do it all yourself becomes this relentless internal pressure cooker. So what does this paradox actually look like day to day? Well, that survival skill from your past ends up creating isolation now because it's so hard to let people in. The strength you built up to protect yourself actually ends up preventing you from making those deep, supportive connections we all need. And eventually, the independence that was your greatest superpower can start to feel more like a cage that you yourself built. So we're left with this really critical question to chew on. What happens when a survival skill outlives its purpose? When the very tool that got you through your past isn't just unhelpful, but is actually hurting you in the present? What then? It's a huge question about how we unlearn the very things that once kept us safe.